Hey there, guys. Welcome to my channel. My name is Cerise Fairfax. I'm coming at you from the north coast of the Dominican Republic in a province by the name of Puerto Plata, you know it, and a municipality by the name of Sosua in a little town neighborhood called Los Charamicos. I live where I love and I love where I live. Today is story time. And oh my gosh, this story time is something else. Now, lately, I have been getting comments from some of my viewers, and they're like, you always make the gringos, the foreigners, look bad. Why don't you do some stories that show where the gringos are good? And I'm like, well, you have not been on my playlist then, because I have a playlist and I'm going to put it in the top comment, which I'm going to pin below the video. I'm also going to put it in the description. It's a playlist. So I know some of you truck drivers out there, some of you people that work and you have the ability to put your headset on throughout the day, or you work at home, or, whenever you got time. I know you guys like to listen to these stories because you told me you do. And I do these stories for you. So make sure you do something for me. Go ahead if you haven't already and subscribe for free. It's free to do so. There's a subscribe button and a join button. And when you hit the join button, you'll have to pay a monthly fee. So don't hit join if you don't want to pay a monthly fee. Just hit subscribe and you'll help my channel grow. And then also hit like and you will get notified as soon as I upload a video in real time. All right. Speaking about real time, it's story time. Let's do it. Okay, so I always keep the names and everything confidential unless it's breaking news. If it's breaking news, then I will definitely always tell the names if the people are not underage. But story time, I don't tell the names because these stories come from real people that didn't make the news. This is just their private stories. And some people say to me, Cerise, say my name. It's okay. It's okay. And say the girl's name or the guy's name or whatever. It's okay. And I'm like, no, because you know what? What if you make up? Or what if you change your mind and you want the story taken down? Once the video's up, it's up. I'm not taking it down. So this is where we come to the next part. The characters in this story are real, but the names are fictitious. So we're going to name this character. Let's name him Wayne. Name him Wayne. So Wayne came to the Dominican Republic. Now, he was coming to the Dominican Republic ever since 2014, and he loved it and still loves it, but he's afraid to come back. And we're going to get into that. You see, at first he didn't come for the chicas. Wayne first came for the brotherhood, the camaraderie. Sosua on Pedro Clisante is all about that. You can go up and down the streets and you can go from bar to restaurant and you can enjoy yourself. I've seen a group of guys go all the way from, now these are shameless plugs and I'm not getting paid for these names, but all the way from singing karaoke at Fat Jesse's, and then the brothers go up the street a little bit more and they go to King's Restaurant. Now I know the owners. I know the owner, Mario of Fat Jesse's. Shout out Mario, and that's a great joint. They go there and they love it. They sing their karaoke, they hang out, they do their meetup, and then they go over to Ray's place. I also know the owner of King's. They go to Ray's and they hang out there, and then they go to the casino, and that's where they end the night. And then, the next day they hang out again. They may take a stroll to the beach and, see the ladies and hang out, get a good bite to eat, get a cold drink, and then they do it again, and that's what Wayne was doing. He was hanging out with a lot of the guys and just loving life. He ignored a lot of the chicas. As a matter of fact, he ignored the chicas so much that some of the guys asked him if he swung the other way, if you get what I mean. And he'd just laugh them off and he'd be like, no, man, I just don't find any of these girls attractive. I'm not into any of them. Of course, they're beautiful, but I'm just not into the pay to play. I'm looking for someone that I can be with. And I don't want everyone else that was around me to have been with her. And, that's fair. So he would come on the trips time after time. One day, he came and he met a girl. We're going to name her, oh gosh, what do we name her? Let's name her Roja. Roja means red. That's the color red in Spanish. So there is your Spanish lesson for the day. So he met Roja. Roja was so attractive, but there was something different about her that he really enjoyed. She wasn't a working girl, and she was somebody who worked at the bar that he went to. So this was a bar, not any of them that I named already. This one was in Puerto Plata. So he went to Puerto Plata, and it was like a nightclub type of setting, and he met Roja, and she was one of the servers, and she liked him, and he saw her a few times. And then he asked her one day for her phone number. She gave it to him. She told him she was single, and she wasn't lying. She told him she had 2 children and their ages, and she was truthful about it all. But what happened was they started to get close. Now, he went back and forth from the United States, from the DMV. The V is Virginia, the M is Maryland, and the D stands for, what state is D? I don't know. District of Columbia, maybe? District? No. Anyway, you guys tell me in the comments below. He's from the DMV. And that's what he said where he's from. And so anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. I apologize. Please don't get frustrated. The story is coming. So here we go. And he was traveling back from the DMV over and over again. And every time he would come, he would bring Roja gifts. And he brought her all types of gifts. He would bring her, much like what other guys bring their girlfriends here, lipsticks and nail polishes and clothing and wigs and, perfumes and cream for their skin and clothing for their kids and medicine if they can for their parents and everything that you could imagine. These American men, they throw down when they come with gifts, and they come bearing gifts. Trust me. Sometimes it's such an overflow that they'll even message me and they'll be like, Cerise, I know you like red lipstick. I brought a couple down for you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. Or they'll be like, I know you like nail polish. I have a few here. Come meet me at the restaurant in Bate. Or, I'm leaving a couple with the waitress. Just tell them your name when you arrive. Little things like that, because they bring so many gifts that they have sometimes doubles. And it's nice to be thought of. And I go and I buy it myself. But imagine if I love it that much and it's like Christmas when I get a gift, then just imagine how the girls feel. They love it. So that's what happened. One time he didn't come down bearing gifts at all, because what happened was he found out last minute that he could come here on a quick vacation, just a weekend type of vacation from a Thursday to a Sunday. He was able to get the Friday and the Thursday off work. And so he was like, you know what? I'm going down to see my girl. Now, he had an apartment here, not with the girl, with himself. He had his own apartment here. It was a studio apartment, fully furnished. He had it for a few months. It was all set up. When he wasn't here, he put it on Airbnb. And he got that apartment from me. Now, I help people find apartments. This is a shameless plug again. I help people find apartments here, long term, short term, but I also help them find apartments that they can put on Airbnb just so they can test out the market before they buy anything. And so he loved the area. He had a little apartment here in the local area in Chetamicos, and it was a studio. He set it all up. He put LED lights all around, and he was bringing down stuff for like sheets and, really nice. It was set up like a man's cave. And so, he was like, I'm going to go to the Dominican Republic for the weekend. And he did. He calls his girl and he's like, I'll be there. He called her on the Wednesday to let her know that he booked his little vacay and he will be there Thursday. And he sent her some money from Western Union, just a couple of bucks. And he said, here, make sure that, and she had a key for his place. And, she could sleep there every now and again, but she didn't live with him. I want to set that straight because, when we get more into the story. So he said, here's a little bit of money. He's like, do me a favor, go today and buy some food for the fridge and get a taxi to come pick me up at the airport. And she's like, yep, no problem. So she gets to the airport as well, and the taxi as well. They pick him up and then they take him back to the studio apartment. And he's like, all I want is a cold presidente and a fish meal, put my feet into the beach and just chill. And she was like, all right, let's go. And she's like, but first, do you want to open up your suitcases? And he's like, no, I'm just leaving my suitcases right there. And she's like, oh, okay. So they went to the beach and, they had a really good day at the beach. And then they got back to the apartment and, he's sitting down and he turns the TV on and she says to him, don't you want to open up your suitcases and unpack? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, do you want me to do it for you? And he's like, okay, yeah, sure. Why not? Thank you. Because he had a long flight that day, right? And he just wanted to chill. So she goes and she opens up his suitcase and she's unpacking everything. And he really primarily brought things down for his apartment. And she, started, as she was unpacking, she started to like bang things around. And he's like, what's up with you? Like, what's going on? Why are you banging everything like that? And she said, nada, nothing. And she sat down and she chilled out beside him and he went to touch her. And he's like, come on, come lay in my arms on the couch. And she's like, I don't want to. No quiero. And he's like, why? And he's like, what's going on? What's up with you? And he's like, I just got off a long flight. I have my day off work today and tomorrow. I just want to relax. Don't give me attitude. She's like, you did not bring me one gift from the United States? Not one gift, not even one pair of panties? And he's like, no, he's like, listen, my bags were packed. My bags were packed already. These are things that I had bought for the apartment, what I brought in the suitcase. He's like, when I booked yesterday, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get the day off today and tomorrow. It's not every time that I'm going to bring you down a suitcase full of treats and gifts and goodies. You have to understand, he's like, what about the $100 that I sent you yesterday? She's like, I went and I bought food with it all. He's like, okay, well, thank you. But, you'll be eating that when I'm gone anyway. Like, so like, what's the problem? Aren't you happy to see me? She's like, well, you should have brought me something, like even just something out of respect, even just something from the airport, even just a cookie. And he's like, oh, come on. What if I showed up with a cookie in my hand and said, here's a cookie? You'd be like, why did you just bring me a cookie? He's like, come on, don't make arguments like this. Don't make fights like this. It's not worth it. And she's like, well, I'm not sleeping with you tonight. And he had a little studio apartment. So, it's a small little apartment. There's a little couch for the two of them to kind of lay on. There's no chair. There's a TV. There's a bed. So he's like, all right, that's up to you. And then she's like, I'm not cooking later. He's like, look, I already ate my fish dinner. I'm full anyway. Just don't cause problems. And then, so she cooked herself something. And he's like, he tried to make up with her, you know? He's like, that's smelling good. What are you cooking, babe? And he went into the little kitchenette area. And she's like, no. And she pushed him away. And he was like, whoa, like, this is getting kind of crazy, you know? So he just said, forget it. He had a couple of drinks and he went and he laid on the bed and he started to fall asleep. She woke him up. She pushed him awake and she said, I want you to make sure when you come next time, you bring me something. You should always bring me a gift. It's respect. I give you intimacy. I take care of your apartment when you're not here. I do everything for you. This seemed like Jane Doe from the Diddy situation. I don't know if you guys are keeping up with the Diddy trial, but the Jane Doe threw all kinds of candle wax at him and everything. Well, Diddy went off on that girl, but Wayne, he didn't go off on the girl. He just said to her, he's like, listen, babe, I'm sorry you're upset. I know next time at least to bring you even a pair of panties, you know, but please just don't show me that side of you, you know, don't do that because I'll take my keys from you and, you know, I'll have you leave and I don't need to see you this weekend. And I'll take my keys from you. And then when I come back, you know, if you're acting right, and he's trying to like reason with her and she's fuming, she starts packing her stuff up and getting all her stuff together. She goes into the fridge. This is where he said to me, Cerise, this woman was serious. Like, you know, she went into the fridge and she took out all the food and she's packing it in bags, right? And she goes into the cupboards and she takes out all the cupboard food and she's packing it into bags. I'm not laughing at her though. She probably needed it, you know? She's probably like, who? I'm taking this food because, gosh, like I need it at my place, you know? So here she is, she's cleaning out the cupboards and he's like not saying a word. He's just letting her take everything and he's thinking to himself, let her just go. If this is the way she's going to behave, it's better for him to have his vacation alone and quiet and, you know, they'll make it up another day. And he said to me, you know, Cerise, somewhere inside of me, I kind of understood her. I kind of felt like, yeah, man, she was just looking forward to that little gift. You know, she was probably pampered, looking forward to gifts every single time. And that's why you gotta be careful not to make habits out of things. Make people appreciate things, you know? Like, don't just have people sitting around waiting for a gift just because. So in any case, let's move on. She is like, you know, putting her clothes on and she's changing, but now she's slowing down the pace. Kind of like she doesn't want him to stop, like let her go. She wants him to stop her, you know? So he said to her, babe, don't go. Just stay. Just stop. You know, come lay on the bed with me, you know, and she's like, no. And she shot the keys at him, the spare keys at him. She shot them at him. And she's like, I don't want these keys. I don't want to be with you. Give me money for a motoconcho. Now, there's no way she could get on a motoconcho. A motoconcho, for those of you who don't know, is a motorcycle taxi. It's a literal motorcycle. And she has like bags of food, you know. One of the bags had meat in it and everything, you know, cans of food in it. They were heavy bags. And then, of course, her clothing. So now she sits down on the couch, right? Like, and she's looking at him as he's in the bed. And she's like, give me money for a cab. And he's like, no, man, just go. Just call your friend. He's like, just leave the stuff here and go. Just give yourself a breather. Just go, you know, I'll put the meat back in the freezer and, you know, go home and think about it. Because if you leave now, we're done for good. Like for good, for good. And she just looked at him and she went quiet. Now, he fell asleep. He had the keys that she threw at him and he wasn't about to give them back to her. He told me already. He said, Cerise, I made up my mind that when I was leaving, I wasn't going to give her the keys. You know, I was just going to take a breather from her. So he's sleeping. Now, when he gets into his deep sleep, he snores and he's out like a light and it's hard for him to wake up. He said the world can crash and it will crash around him. But that night, something was different. He went to sleep. He got into his deep sleep, but he said he felt like it was the hand of God himself. He said he felt something shake him awake, like, and he went, and he woke up out of his sleep. When he woke up out of his sleep, he saw her in the safe. She's never taken anything out of the safe before. But he puts his money, he puts his passport, his credit cards, stuff of that nature. And he had in the safe, he puts his jewelry immediately in the safe when he arrives. And this jewelry is very important to him. One of the necklaces his mom gave him before she died. And he doesn't even leave that in the United States when he leaves the United States. That's how important it is to him. It's sentimental. He wears it here. As soon as he gets here, he takes it off and he puts it in the safe. When he's leaving, he puts it on, and when he's going back to the United States, right? So he's looking at her and he sees the chain in her hand and he sees her close the safe and she's about to leave. He jumped up. Now remember, it's a studio apartment, so he can see everything. He jumped up and he ran to the door and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Nothing." And he said, No. Open your hands." And she wouldn't open her hand. And not only that, she punched him in his gut and kicked him because she was getting caught in the act. And he was like, "Whoa." And she's a strong lady. And she was like attacking him. And she punched him with the closed fist punch, the same hand she had the chain in. And so he grabbed her by her hand and he squeezed her hand open and he took his chain out. And he reached into her pockets as he had her hands all wrapped up. And he's like looking through her pockets and he couldn't find anything in her jeans. So her purse was right on her shoulder and he grabbed her purse. Now that he had the chain and he knew she didn't have anything in her pockets, he grabbed her purse and he went closer to the bed and he dumped out all the stuff out of her purse onto his bed. And there was his passport, there was his money, his watch. Oh my gosh. He just looked at her. And she attacked him. She scratched his neck and everything. Now, this man, he has dreads. She was pulling his hair so hard, she ripped out one of the man's dreads. Yes. And so he just was like, oh my gosh, and she was screaming. Now, the apartment that I got him is in an apartment building where foreigners rent. So one of the foreigners, which was also one of my clients, messaged me and he's like, "Cerise, your client downstairs sounds like he's having a fight with a Chica. What should we do?" And I was like, oh my gosh. And now there are cameras in the hallway there. So I was like, okay, don't get involved. Because he's like, should I go down there? And I said, no, don't get involved because it's not worth it. If this woman sees you and recognizes you on the street after Wayne leaves and, you put yourself into harm's way. So it's best for you to just stay in the house and mind your business. So I called Wayne. He answered the phone and he's like, "Cerise, call the police right away. I have a Chica here. She's stealing and she's hitting me. She's punching me." And I said, all right. So I have a police officer friend of mine and I contacted him and I asked him if he was on duty and he wasn't, but he contacted a couple of his buddies that were on duty and they went to the apartment. Now, when they got to the apartment, the girl and Wayne were still in the apartment. They knocked on the door and Wayne answered the door and he has very limited Spanish. There was one police officer there that spoke English, but the girl, she started to say that he was holding her down and that he was trying to have intimacy with her. She didn't want to have intimacy with him. And you see, everything was already dumped out of her purse. So he couldn't prove that she was taking anything. And when they looked at her wrists, where he had held her wrists to dig in her pockets, her wrists were red and they looked like someone was holding her wrists. And they said to him, they said, listen, you know, when there's an argument, everyone goes to prison. Like everyone goes to the police station. You have to come to the police station and you have to tell your story, your side at the police station. And he was like, oh my gosh. So he asked them to give him a minute because he had to put his passport in his back pocket to take it to the police station with him. He wanted to put some cash in his pocket just in case he needed it. And he put his gold chain and his, other belongings, his watch and everything back into the safe. So he went out into the hallway to wait for her to carry all the stuff out. Now, she had a lot of stuff, bags of food and everything, right? And he's waiting for her. And she yelled at him. She said, help me. And he said, no, I'm not touching you. I'm not going near you. I'm standing out in the hall. You're going to have to get one of the police officers to help you. And she flew out into the hallway, right where the cameras are, and she attacked him. She started to pull his hair and she started to kick him, and he was just blocking himself. He didn't want to have anything to do with it. And then he starts calling for the police. He's like, Policia, Policia. And they ran back in, and they're like, because they were outside of the apartment. Now, you go outside of the apartment and there's the hallway. Then you go down the hallway a little bit more and there's a big door that goes outside, and that's where the police were standing. So they didn't see what happened at all. Now they run back inside, they go around and they see her. And what does she do? She threw herself to the ground. But before she did, she banged her head off the wall to make it look like he punched her in the forehead or something like that. And she scratched herself. So she's on the floor and on the ground and she's crying, and the police are like, oh man, this is just too much. Like, come on, we gotta go. Now, he starts to text me and he's like, Cerise, and he told me what's happening. He said that he is in the back of a police pickup truck. He's on his way to the police station. He doesn't know what to do. He's asking me advice. And I said to him, listen, where did the fight happen? He said, inside the apartment and inside the hallway. I said, you stay still. Just relax. There's cameras in the hallway. And I said, what happened in the hallway? Were you I texted him. I said, I'm sorry to ask this, but did you hit her or anything like that? He's like, no, not at all. I don't hit women. I would never ever do that. And he said, she attacked me in the hallway. And I said, all right, don't worry. The landlord has cameras. And I contacted the landlord immediately. Now, this landlord really likes Wayne because, like Wayne would bring down gifts for his girlfriend, even before he had his girlfriend, he would bring gifts for the landlord, and he would also bring gifts for his favorite bartenders and, people that he knew. He would give out candy to the kids and everything. So he was always really kind. And when he paid his electricity bill, he always gave the landlord, a couple of extra bucks. And he was always on time with his rent. Very good tenant. And here you get points with the Dominicans when you are respectful like that. And when I contacted the landlord was like, what? Wayne is in trouble? And I told her what happened, and she checked her cameras right away. She had the footage on her cell phone. And she said she is on her way to the police station. This landlord lives in Puerto Plata, 20 minutes away from the police station. And she didn't care. And by this time it was nighttime. And she didn't care how late it was, how far she had to go. She was looking out for Wayne. She got to the police station And she just happened to know one of the main police officers that work at the police station, and he was on shift that night. And she walked right in and she said, "My friend Wayne is here. He's my tenant. He's innocent and he's a good guy. Look at this video." And they looked at the video, and she was like pretty much yelling at the top of her lungs, because at the top of her voice, because Wayne even said to me, he's like, "Wow, Cerise, when she walked in, you'd swear I knew her for years. She was taking up for me." He's like, "Man, it's great to have someone like that have your back." So he got out right away. They looked at the footage. They saw her beating him up in the hallway. They saw her hit her head on the wall, and they saw her scratch herself along her neck, boom, and drop to the ground. They looked at her and they said, "You're crazy. Una chica loca. You know, like, this is crazy." And they apologized to Wayne. They said, "I'm sorry that this happened to you in our country. You know, please, if you need anything, let us know. You're free to go." And he went home with the landlord, and the landlord changed the locks that same day. She's like, "Here, I'm getting someone to come change the locks." Right there at that night time, she went and she took the lock off one door of the apartment that was empty, and she just like exchanged locks. She had someone come in and do it right away, because she's like, just in case that girl gets out, you don't want her coming back to the apartment. You don't know if she has an extra key. Even though she gave you the keys, she could still have a spare one somewhere. And that was really smart thinking. And he was so thankful, very thankful. Now, he's afraid to come back here. He still has his apartment. He still rents it out on Airbnb. I have a girl that goes in there and does the cleaning for him and the check-ins for him. But he's afraid to come back to Sosua. He's like, "Cerise, I'm afraid that she's going to do something. I'm afraid that if I see her, she's going to attack me in the street." I was like, "Oh my gosh, Wayne, don't be afraid to come back here. Don't be afraid. She's going to get over it." And he's like, "Well, I'm afraid that she's going to have someone, attack me, like a guy when I'm at a bar or something." He's like, I'm afraid for my life, the way she went off for no reason like that. And, was hitting herself and hitting me, And so now what he has decided to do was just come on a little trip for a few days just to test the waters. Guys, my advice to you is get yourself one of those cameras off Amazon or Temu. And what you can do is you can put it in your ceiling, like you put it in your ceiling, and it will film everything, and the app goes straight to your phone, your cell phone. You can have it in the light bulb switch. You can just have them like hanging around your apartment, in the corner of your apartment. You can hide them somewhere. They are a great investment for when you have company there and when you need proof of what's going on. That would be my advice to you. Guys, I wrote 3 books. One is called Sosua Staycation. It's not just about Sosua, but it's based in Puerto Plata, Sosua, and Cabarete. But much of the information is packed with Dominican Republic information, like driving, residency, buying property, and healthcare, school system. And it even has recipes in it, like sancocho recipe, which is a great stew here. It has different explanations about what the food is. And not only that, it talks about excursions that you can go on in Puerto Plata, Cabarete, and Sosua. And I talk about real estate in there as well. That's for sale on my website called www.sosuabeachrealestate.com. It's called Sosua Staycation. I will put the link in the first comment underneath the video and also in the description. I wrote another book called how to understand the Dominican woman. And this is a lot about guys that love to date Dominican women and want to get closer to her, and they can learn a lot about her. Is she using him? Is she really into him? You know, how to get down to the basics with a Dominican woman, how to understand her culture, how to understand her heart, how to connect with her on a deeper level. That book is also for sale on my website called Sosua Real Estate, Sosua Beach Real Estate.com. Now, my other book is brand new. It's called Sosua Survival Guide, and I just finished it. I still have to edit a couple of the last pages, but it's finished. So I want to give that one away for free even before I start selling it. And I want to give it away to anyone who has subscribed and put in the comments survival. All right. And once you put in the comments survival after you subscribe, I will send you a PDF, my ebook online, and you will have a copy of it. Guys, don't forget, I help people find apartments as well. And if you're looking for a consultation, give me a shout, because I can give you a 30-minute consultation or a 90-minute consultation on relocation or long-term vacation here if you want to come and stay for a few months and you just need some tips and some insight. And not only that, if you are looking to become an influencer, if you are interested in making business online and learning how to live online, give me a shout. I can help you out, and I can teach you how to become a successful influencer. Give me a shout at 829-702-7726 via WhatsApp. My number's right here on the screen, and it will also be in the first comment under the video and also in the description. You can give me a shout via WhatsApp message, through text, or through voice note, and let me know if you're interested in taking my course. All right, guys, huge hugs, loads of love, big blessings. Be good to yourself out there. Please be careful, be wise, and make today count. Tomorrow is not promised. I love you. God bless.